It's time for the most interactive radio program in Las Vegas today. It's time for Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro. Brian will talk sports, politics, entertainment, and anything that matters to you. Feel free to call Brian at 702-221-7283.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Now, Pushing the Limits, here's Brian Shapiro.
All right, what's up, everybody? Happy Monday. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving vacation. I know I did. Welcome to PTL. It's good to be back in studio live, and it is good to be on the air with all of you again because anybody who knows me knows that, this is my therapy every day, being back here in studio and doing PTL. So thanks, everybody, for being here. Appreciate it. And we got Chris Wynn in studio as well, and we are going to be, talking about a lot of very interesting topics today, including UNLV firing their head football coach, Marcus Arroyo. That's going to be certainly topic number one that we're going to be discussing today. My going into today, I thought the first thing we were going to be doing would be to be talking about Thanksgiving, and we're still going to do that. My Thanksgiving trip, your Thanksgiving, and I definitely have some interesting stories to tell. There's no question about that. So we're going to share that with all of you coming up a little bit later on the show. Raiders get a big win yesterday. We'll talk about that. Scott Gulbranson from Silver and Black Today podcast will be joining us in hour number 2. Nice win for the Raiders on the road. I haven't said that in a long time. Nice win on the road by the Raiders against the Seattle Seahawks. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. More mass carnage, more mass shootings in the last week. We'll get to that as well. Sadly, I wish I didn't have to. But, more madmen and nut jobs legally able to obtain these AR-15s and just kill innocent people. So we'll talk about that a little bit later in the program. Chris, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was great. Had a chance to spend it with family and friends and here in Las Vegas. And look, good to have you back, Brian. It was great to see a little Doug Basham action with Michelle Mortensen last week.
Yep.
Get a little bit different take when it came to PTL, and they did a tremendous job. But as you mentioned, we thought it was going to be a textbook Monday, right, where we'd be loaded up with all kinds of topics across the board from news and sports over the weekend. But we get kind of sideswiped here with some news locally that, especially on the sports front, that is really got a lot of people fired up and is a polarizing topic that we're going to get a chance to dive into on PTL today.
Correct. And I want to thank Doug Basham for filling in for me. He did a phenomenal job. He's a great friend, and I appreciate Doug doing that. All right, let's get down to business here. Start of the year this year, I said that Marcus Arroyo had to win 6 games and get to a bowl game in order for him to keep his job. That is what I felt. Now, I wasn't sure if that was going to happen and the UNLV athletic department was going to do that. But, I had Harper on the show earlier this year. And Harper on the show earlier this year, I asked him the statement, and that statement was, or I should say a question. I asked UNLV athletic director Eric Harper the question, which was, what would you consider a good year in year 3 for Marcus Arroyo? And here is what Eric Harper had to say in regards to that question. Okay, we'll get back to the Harper statement here in just a little bit. But let me start out by saying this. I've said all year, I said year 1, team didn't get better in year 1. Year 2, team didn't get better in year 2. Year 3, this year, the nail in the coffin was the loss against Hawaii. You can't lose that game on the road. They barely squeaked out a win against Nevada Reno, which was, down to the wire. You gave UNR first and goal at the 3-yard line. You barely beat a really bad University of Nevada Reno team. The team did not get better from start to the end of the year. You can use excuses and say, well, there were injuries and our starting quarterback got hurt. Your starting quarterback was in the game against Hawaii. You lost that football game. And Marcus Arroyo conducted himself like he was God's gift to college football. I don't care what anybody says. He had that type of personality where he has this ego, I've accomplished everything and you've accomplished nothing type of mentality, where he didn't really accomplish anything as a head football coach in college football. So I think when it's all said and done, there's a lot of idiots on social media and a lot of UNLV football fans that are idiots that are saying this was the bad decision and we're painting the cannon red. I understand that UNLV Nevada Reno is a big rivalry and that's an important game. I understand that. With that being said, just because you beat an awful 2-win team does not mean you deserve to come back next year. If you beat Hawaii and he made it to a bowl game, I would say absolutely bring him back next year. He's had 3 years. The team has regressed. You're going to have some fans out there who are going to say, oh, it's going to set the team back 5 years. Not if he makes a good hire. I am going to tell you this right now, and I think we have the audio, so I want to go to this before I comment on Eric Harper. This was Eric Harper, the UNLV athletic director. I asked him before the football season starts, what are you looking for from Coach Arroyo from start to the end of the year? Listen to this. At the end of the year, when we're talking 2 or 3 months from now, what is a successful UNLV football season to you? And again, I'm not even necessarily asking wins, losses. Just in your perspective as the athletic director, in 3 months from now, what would make you say, man, that was a really good, positive football year for UNLV?
Yeah, we're better on the last day of the season than we are on the first day of the season. That is going to sound like a cliche, but that is absolutely an extremely important factor as it relates to, is a program or is a team improving? Are they better on the last day than they were on the first day? And I think we have an opportunity to do that.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Eric Harper agrees with me in that sense, obviously. The team did not get better from start to the end of the year. And I want to say this. Desiree Reed-Francois hired this guy, Marcus Arroyo. He's never been a head football coach before. He has no personality. He was not good with the media, was not good in the community, and he was not good on the football field. Eric Harper made the right decision. And I applaud the UNLV athletic department. I haven't said that in a long time. I applaud Eric Harper. And while this would have been maybe an easy decision for some programs, these types of decisions have never been an easy situation for the UNLV athletic department. I support Eric Harper in his decision. I believe Eric Harper made the right decision. I have faith that Eric Harper will hire a coach that can get this team back to making bowl games. He made the right decision. I applaud his decision. And I say it was a ballsy decision for this reason. 3 years, a lot of people say you got to give a coach a little bit more time than that. I agree with his decision. But some people would make that claim. He made the right decision. I applaud the decision, as I said. And I have faith that he will make a good hire. He might already have a hire. I believe he made this decision after the Hawaii game. There is no doubt in my mind that after they lost to Hawaii, whether they beat Nevada Reno by 4 touchdowns or not, Eric Harper was going to fire Coach Arroyo. It's the right decision. That Hawaii game was an embarrassment and one of the worst losses in the UNLV football program in over a decade. This is the right decision. I have faith. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I am. I have faith in Eric Harper. Because of him making this decision, I have faith that he's going to make the right decision and he's going to hire the next coach is going to be a good hire. I really believe that. The basketball program is doing fine, both men and women. Kevin Kruger's doing well, off to a very good start. The women's basketball program making it to the NCAA tournament last year. Those two programs are looking good. The football program has been in disarray for a very, very long time. And Marcus Arroyo was not the answer to your problems. It takes me no joy in celebrating a guy losing his job. But in this situation, Arroyo did it to himself. He was not good with the media. He was not in the community. And he was not winning football games, at least not to the point where you need to make bowl games. And it was a joke after the press conference on Saturday. What a joke of a press conference where Marcus Arroyo was talking to the media and he's answering our questions and he's talking about all this wonderful progress that the UNLV football program has made. Can I remind everybody that they lost 6 of their last 7 games of the season? That's not progress. I don't care you started the season 4-1. You had to find a way to win 2 games and make it to a bowl game. They didn't. The only, I guess you could call it a signature win, they beat a Utah State team on the road. Remember, Utah State 6-6 this year. They're a 500 team in an awful conference. That's your best win in 3 years. Chris, this is the right decision. I applaud Eric Harper for making this decision. To some, it might have been an easy decision, but to UNLV Athletics, it wasn't. And we'll get Eric Harper on the show. I applaud his decision, and I have faith that he'll hire a good head football coach.
Yeah, you keep using that word applaud. I don't necessarily know if I'd go that direction regarding, making a move like this. That being said, here's the deal, Brian. Look, we can go a lot of different directions here. You just played the comments that Eric Harper made, a few weeks back regarding his expectations for this team, right? Let's juxtapose those and fast forward to today and the comments that Eric Harper has made in the press conference just moments ago. And he said, this year we had success at the beginning of the season. We stalled off for 6 weeks and had a very struggling game against UNR. That full body of work does not show the trajectory of the program moving forward. He also said, with respect to who he wants to bring in here as the new head coach at UNLV, I want someone that will continue our recent success academically and someone that's going to bring a championship mindset to what we need to do. We want to be better than we are today. We hope that person has head coaching experience. That is a big key. Also, comments made regarding the bowl game situation. Now, you've made comments, and we've got into this because I have pointed out that there have been teams that have had 5 wins that have made bowl games. And I was getting ridiculed for this by you and others in the media here. And there's still speculation out there, yes, I'll use that word, speculation, that UNLV could be selected, that's the word that's been used, to a bowl game. And that associate head coach and linebackers coach Kenwick Thompson will coach the team if they are selected to a bowl game. Now, me personally, I think it's ridiculous.
It's not going to happen.
Considering the situation right now at UNLV, that they would accept any kind of bowl game. First of all, what benefit does that for UNLV football? And we have a former football player here in studio, Mark. I'd love to have a comment on this. You playing a December, second week of December bowl game in the weedwhacker.com bowl game against, Northeast Texas State that nobody cares about. Like, I don't understand why they would want to go that direction, right? Mark,
well, let's talk about that.
As far as a bowl game.
Let's talk about that, and then I'll get Mark's perspective. Let me just give you my quick opinion on that, Chris. The team is 5-7. Their signature win is Utah State on the road. This is a joke. They should not be in a bowl game. And I think Eric Harper's decision in firing Marcus Arroyo basically tells you all you need to know. There's no way they're going to be playing in a bowl game this year. Eric Harper's not going to get this team to play in a bowl game. And deservingly, they do not deserve to be in a bowl game. And I think
that goes without saying.
Yeah.
But I was just bringing up the fact that I was ridiculed, and I was basically, people were saying, "Oh, you're out of your mind." If they win 5 games, they're not even going to be eligible to be in a bowl game.
They're not going to be in a bowl game. It's not going to happen.
Apparently, there's still chatter out there that they could actually go.
Yeah.
Mark, your thoughts on UNLV? Should they entertain Mr. Hayes an opportunity to play in the postseason?
No way. The team is done. I think if they are even considered for a bowl game, they should turn it down. Turn down the bowl game. This team is not ready to play in a bowl. They barely squeaked out a win against UNR. And like Brian said, I had a feeling Aurora was going to be fired, but you just didn't know when. And this timing was perfect. Harper did the right thing. And I think UNLV will be able to bring in somebody that can coach. But bowl game, season is over. Turn in your equipment. Let's have our end of the year speeches with the maybe the acting head coach right now, and get ready for the offseason. Get ready for spring ball.
Yeah. Well, I got to be honest with you. I didn't think that Harper was going to make this decision. And the reason why I didn't think, not that obviously I agree with the decision. The reason why I didn't think, because you look at the history of the program and how many years you gave Sanchez and Bobby Houck and Sanford. You go back, way back. 3 years, they haven't done this before. Now, Harper is new to UNLV. He's only been there, year and a half, right?
Yeah.
Since Francois left. There is no way Francois would have pulled the trigger on this.
No.
And that's why I use the term applaud, because by UNLV standards, this was not your typical decision. And Eric Harper, clearly, if anybody understands football like you do, and you're not biased, listen, we all in this room want UNLV to succeed.
Right.
We go to games, we want them to win. I wasn't rooting for UNR to score a touchdown with 20 seconds to go. I wanted the cannon red. We all pull for UNLV, but we're all honest here. There are people that cover UNLV in this town that are not honest. They're biased. We want UNLV football to succeed, and I believe moving forward, this will help UNLV succeed. Arroyo was not a likable guy. That's also a part of it. I'm not saying you have to be a likable guy to succeed, but it certainly helps, especially when you're trying to turn a program around. Arroyo was not well liked. And by the way, I am not alone. I'm talking to many other members of the media that did not like working with him. He was not good with the media. I've talked to former players and current players off the record that have told me that he conducts himself like the guy has won 3 bowl games in a row at UNLV. He conducted himself like, I've done everything and you've done nothing. That doesn't work here. Sanchez didn't operate like that.
I would bounce back on you there, Brian. Look, nobody cares about how he deals with the media if he wins football games. If the guy was a winner, right? He
I
came
just
in
said
here
that.
And he won football games,
I just
then
said
people
that.
wouldn't care.
I just said that.
No, but you're harping on the fact that
okay.
you have. Look, there's obviously some personal animosity that you have towards Marcus Arroyo regarding his personality.
Chris.
When it comes down to college football coaching, Brian, it doesn't matter. You could be a complete a-hole, all right? If you win football games, that's what matters.
Chris, as I just said, you can be a jerk and you could be bad with the media. If you win football games, it's still possible to be a winning football coach. All I'm saying is it's more important to be in the community, and it's more important to be somewhat likable when you're not winning. Maybe, and I'm saying maybe. Eric Harper.
Well, that's just not who he is, though.
Hold on.
Well, hold on. That's not
okay,
who
let me
he
just
is.
finish.
That's not the guy he is.
Chris, hold on. Let me just finish.
Well, I mean, you can finish.
I'm saying maybe if this guy was better with people, maybe if he didn't conduct himself with this ego, maybe if he was in the community a little bit more, maybe mingling with boosters, whatever the case may be, he would still be the head football coach. Maybe he gets another year. What I'm saying is in this situation, that stuff didn't help. So moving forward, now we talk about what type of coach should UNLV hire? I love what Eric Harper said. I love what he just said in this press conference, and I agree 100% with what he said. And I've never talked like this about an athletic director. I believe everything he said was true. It's important to find a guy with head coaching experience. I could not agree more. The last guy that we actually had head coaching, last 2 coaches, Tony Sanchez only at the high school level. I'm pretty sure what Eric Harper's talking about is at the D1 level. Okay, I like Tony Sanchez, great guy. And maybe that's why he got a couple more years in his relationship with the Fertittas. That helped, the facilities.
UNLV's had a number of head coaches that had head coaching
I'm going
experience
back.
before they've been coaching
I'm going back.
here at UNLV.
Okay,
so what are you talking about?
Again, I'm not finished with my statement. Tony Sanchez only had head coaching experience at the high school level. You have Bobby Houck, who only had head coaching experience at Montana at the D2 level. So I think what Eric Harper, in my opinion, is talking about, and we'll get him on to talk about this, is we want to find a guy that's been a head coach at the D1 level. That's really important with some level of success. You're not going to find a guy that makes it to a bowl game every year that has an 80% winning record that's going to want to be the head coach at UNLV. You're just not going to find that. Let's be reasonable here. Find a guy that has been a head coach at the D1 level with some success, with a personality maybe that can turn things around here. Arroyo was not that guy, and I know there's going to be idiots in this town, and that's what they are. They're idiots that are talking like, well, you're painting the cannon red. He's got to come back. UNR is one of the worst teams in the country, and you had to stop them at 1st and goal at the 3-yard line at the end of the game. That's not success, and I couldn't believe what Arroyo was saying after that game. I couldn't believe his comments. He talked about that there was this monumental success. Did we see what just happened in Hawaii last week? How was that improvement? So again, I'm going around in circles here. Eric Harper made the right decision. I have a lot of respect for this. Normally, under normal circumstances, I would say, all right, it was the right decision. It was the obvious one. Not when it comes to UNLV. And that is why I give Eric Harper a lot of credit. It was a ballsy decision because I know there's going to be people, and there are already people in this town that are saying, I can't believe you fired him. You're painting the cannon red. In fact, Caleb Herring, I will call him out for this because we've gotten into it on social media back and forth. I think Caleb is a really nice guy, okay, but we've gotten into it personally when it comes to this stuff. And this is exactly the kind of stuff I'm talking about when I talk about bias. So Caleb Herring said, the state of college football, right? The business of college football. Yeah, the business of winning and losing. It's how you,
right.
Okay. And then he goes on to say, I don't have an opinion on the firing. You are the color commentator, the voice of UNLV football. They just fired the head coach, and your only opinion is he shouldn't have done this while they were painting the cannon red because maybe some feelings might be hurt. This isn't about feelings being hurt. In fact, I would argue there are some players that are painting the can in red today that are happy that Coach Arroyo was fired. I would go that route as well. I'm sure there are some people that are disappointed, but there are also people that are happy. And that's the only take you have, the timing of it. Oh, we should have waited an extra day. Let them paint the can in red. No, this is Eric Harper making a statement. And the statement is, painting the can in red is not enough. The bar is now higher. It's not just about a rivalry game. Yes, that game is very important. I understand that. Even if a team is 2-7 in Nevada Reno, that game is important. I get that. But what is more important than just painting the can in red is getting to a ball game. Getting to ball games and having a winning record. That is what is more important. And I applaud him, and I use that term again, for making this decision and doing it before they could even paint the can in red. To me, that is a statement that Eric Harper has made. Painting that can in red is not enough. The bar is, in my opinion, Harper's raising the bar. And I applaud him for doing that. This is the right decision. I applaud him for the timing of it. He didn't waste any time. I personally believe he made this decision after the Hawaii game. As you said, I believe the writing was on the wall. If you win that game at Hawaii and you beat Nevada Reno, you made it to a bowl game, and now we could say, okay, we had some improvement this year. Even though the team lost a lot of games towards the end of the year, you made it to a bowl game, and that gives something fans to be excited about. I love it. I love what this athletic director has done. I love the decision that he made, and I am not taking joy in a coach being fired, even though I go back to what I said earlier. Coach Arroyo did this to himself. The play calling was bad. The decision-making was bad. I don't think you can say that his halftime adjustments were very good, because they weren't. Even Saturday. Look at the way the game started yesterday. This is your most important game of the year. And the team came out flat against an awful Nevada Reno team, and you fall behind early. That can't happen. I have faith in Harper that he's going to hire the right guy. At least I hope so. But I do have faith that he will do that. And I base that on this decision because it was the right one. And moving forward, the facilities are there. Thanks to Coach Sanchez, and I still talk to him from time to time. Tony Sanchez is a great guy. Talk about the opposite of Marcus Arroyo when it comes to dealing with the media and dealing with people and being in the community. I love Coach Sanchez, and I've always wished him the best. You know, Bobby Houck made it to a bowl game. Took him a little while. Sanford always blamed the facilities. You can't blame the facilities anymore thanks to Sanchez and the Fertittas. You can't. What you can do now, moving forward, is hope that Eric Harper makes the right hire, which I believe he will. This was another Desiree Reed-Francois blunder. TJ Otzelberger is having success, but he never wanted to be at UNLV. That's part of being an athletic director. I don't blame the hire that they made, and I'm forgetting his Coach Beard. I don't blame them for that. That was a great hire. But you now have to hire a guy that wants to be here. And TJ Otzelberger did not want to be here. That's part of being an athletic director. This was a bad hire by Desiree Reed-Francois. I am so glad she is no longer the athletic director at UNLV because she is clueless, in my opinion. And now Eric Harper gets to hire his own guy, and I have faith that he will make the right decision.
So there was obviously a bizarre kind of scenario that took place today, given that they let go of Marcus Arroyo, then just a matter of basically not even an hour from that decision. They decided to have the press conference immediately. Mm-hmm. And, of course, what else was going down? We just talked about it. They're painting the can in red, basically within a 2-hour period. So it was kind of bizarre, the whole kind of timing, how things shook out.
Right.
Now, to your point and to the point being brought up, obviously, what direction they go, Brian.
Yep.
Right? And there are coaching prospects out there. You talked about it being a head coach. There are a number of options they can and directions they can go here that aren't necessarily former head coaches. They are people that have ties to the West Coast when it comes to recruiting. There are people that are young and up-and-coming coaches that are offensive coordinators. Names like Shane Steichen, the former UNLV quarterback, and now Philadelphia Eagles offensive coordinator. There's been names like Brian Harsin out there, who was the former Boise State and Auburn head coach, and also the offensive coordinator from the Horned Frogs from TCU, Garrett Riley. His name has been tossed around a little bit, too, as far as possible prospects. And then there's other names that obviously garner a tremendous amount of interest. I'm talking about former all-time great Deion Sanders, who is now the head coach at Jackson State.
That's interesting.
Now, there's questions as to whether or not he'd be motivated to come here to UNLV, given that he has his sights set probably on a Power 5 type job, moving from Jackson State to a gig like that, where he could go to, say, a Tennessee or a bigger name program. But obviously, Deion would garner a tremendous amount of interest here in Las Vegas, and there have been already people on social media that are, again, I'll use the word, speculating that UNLV might want to go in that direction. So there's a number of people that they're going to have a chance to look at, Brian. I don't necessarily think that it's going to be just hinging on whether or not they have head coaching experience or not, being that this is a program that's trying to establish themselves, still an identity. This is a program, look, Mark played at this program, all right? It is a program that has kind of wallowed in either mediocrity or sub-mediocrity or futility for a number of years. I've covered the team. You covered the team. I've covered the team for over a decade. And we talk about the one bowl game that they went to with Caleb Herring as the quarterback. This is not a program that you mention when you talk about college football, even regionally on the West Coast, much less on a national level. So there's all kinds of work that needs to be done. Plus you have the shifting climate that is college football right now, where you have programs like UNLV and others that are looking to go bigger and better. And what I mean by that is go to a conference like the Big 12, go to a conference like the Pac-12, where you try to move into a bigger conference and get more exposure. So that's looming on the landscape as well, too, that Eric Harper and the powers that be at UNLV have to deal with. So there's a lot of factors that are involved here regarding UNLV and exactly what direction they should go as far as a head coach, because that head coach, let's face it, he's the face of the program. He's the guy who's going to be making the decisions. Eric Harper makes the decisions as far as the coach, but when it comes to the coach has to be able to go and recruit into living rooms. He's got to be able to elevate the program to where they want to be. And we've used the word, you just mentioned it, expectations here at UNLV, and that they're elevated. Obviously, they should be elevated. It's a program that has been, that hasn't been good for a number of years. So we'll see what direction they go. It is, again, I hesitate to use the word applaud when you're talking about letting a coach go for any reason whatsoever. But I do think it was the right decision. And I do think that the Hawaii game was the nail in the coffin, for lack of a better term, when it came to Marcus Arroyo as the head coach here. There's a number of factors, to be quite honest with you, as to why he was let go. There wasn't just one or two or maybe three reasons. I think there was a number of them. But it was certainly a major factor, in my opinion, losing that game to Hawaii.
So I agree. Let me also add that UNLV is going to have to pay out Marcus Arroyo's contract somewhere around $2.3 million. So that's a lot of money. Marcus Arroyo was the highest paid UNLV football coach in the history of the program as well. He was 5-17 in 3 years in the Mountain West Conference. That is pathetic. Okay, his record was 7-23. He was winning under 25% of his games. That's pathetic. And I'm sick of the excuses that people make in this town. Oh, throw away year one. All right, well, let's throw away the record for a moment. By the way, San Diego State didn't throw away the record in COVID year one. Nevada Reno didn't throw away their record in COVID year one. Okay, but a new coaching staff. Did the team get better from the start to the end of the year in year one? We could still assess that. The answer is no. We saw what happened last year. They won 2 games. They got spanked by Nevada Reno. That was an embarrassing loss last year. The team didn't get better last year. And Arroyo had the audacity, after barely squeaking by a terrible Nevada Reno team on Saturday, to be happy about all the progression that was made, which is a joke, by the way. They lost 6 of their last 7 games of the year.
And you can't have that even. Look, I get it. It was a short season because of COVID, but you can't go winless. You can't. You got to find a way to get one win that year. So that's another notch on the not so great thing about Marcus's career at UNLV. That I think that was also a factor, given him being let go.
And Chris, I'll end this segment by saying this. I was told at the beginning of the year, Brian, you weren't at practices. You don't know what you're talking about. Brian, you're not an expert. You never played college football. Well, here's what I did know. Marcus Arroyo, if you really wanted to show progression in the program, you got to make it to a bowl game this year, especially when you start the season 4-1. He was unable to do so, losing 6 of his last 7 games of the year. You're the highest paid coach in UNLV football history. That is not progression. Eric Harper clearly agreed, and that's why Marcus Arroyo this morning was officially let go. And now the search is on for a new head football coach at UNLV, and I have faith in our athletic director, based on this decision alone, that he is going to hire a capable head football coach and maybe turn this thing around. I applaud Eric Harper for making this decision. It was not an easy decision, and there'll be idiots out there in the Las Vegas media and Kool-Aid UNLV football fans that are going to say this was the wrong decision. But make no mistake about it, this was intentional, and this was, in my personal opinion, a statement that our athletic director made, Eric Harper, in holding this press conference around the same time where the cannon was being painted red. The bar needs to be raised a little bit when it comes to UNLV football. Just beating Nevada Reno is not enough. You need to compete for a Mountain West Conference championship every year, and you need to compete and give yourself opportunities to get into bowl games. I believe that's what Eric Harper was saying this morning in his press conference, and moving forward, the bar has been raised, and progression isn't beating a horrible UNR football program. Progression is giving yourself opportunities and getting into bowl games. And I believe, looking back on this day, I will be right again. Eric Harper is going to hire a good, capable football coach to move this program actually forward. And I believe, and I'm going to, not even knowing what type of...
It's just funny, though, you're just describing it as you being right. It's not like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of funny, you're taking that perspective as if...
I don't know
what's...
It
is kind of funny, because, look... The decision was made for a reason. It wasn't necessarily, to validate B-Shap's opinion regarding this situation.
Okay, I don't know how you make that. I don't know how you make that correlation. I'm not saying that. Hold on.
You're the one who just said it. You said
I'm not saying that Eric Harper cares about my opinion or made this decision based on what Brian Shapiro thinks. So I don't know why you would make that ridiculous statement. It's
not ridiculous.
What I am saying, and I'll repeat it again, is that I believe that Eric Harper had the same process of thinking that I have, which was, and I'll repeat it again, progression. And there was not enough progression, if any, within the UNLV football program under Marcus Arroyo to validate him coming back year 4. We just agree. I think he made the right decision. This isn't about my opinion. I'm just saying at the beginning of the year, I thought that he had to make a bowl game to have job security. But that being said, a few days ago after they beat Nevada Reno, I didn't think he was going to be fired because the history of UNLV athletics, they give a coach a little bit more time. With that being said, I agree with it. I applaud Eric Harper for making this decision. I just agree with him 100%. And we both agreed. His opinions, obviously, on Marcus Arroyo when it comes to progression of the football program aligned with my opinions, which wasn't enough progression. The team digressed from start to end of the year this year, and every year he's been the head coach, and that's how you evaluate a head football coach. That's number one. Is the team getting better from start to the end of the year? Notice I'm not even putting wins and losses in there. The team has not gotten better. All right, we're going to take a quick break. He's Chris Wynn. I'm Brian Shapiro. We'll open up the phone lines, too, if you want to be a part of the show, 702-221-7283. Again, that number to call, 702-221-7283, if you want to be a part of the program. Your thoughts on the breaking news that really just broke out short while before we got on the air. Marcus Arroyo is no longer the head football coach at UNLV. What do you make of the decision that Eric Harper made? Do you agree? Do you disagree with it? And do you think moving forward, what kind of head football coach do you think Eric Harper should hire? Again, that number, if you want to be a part of the program, is 702-221-7283. We'll take your comments and your responses when we come back. You are listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Look, it's impossible for the average person to find a great attorney out there. There's so much misinformation. Now, let me introduce you to former Chief Deputy District Attorney Thomas Moskal. He was Las Vegas's top DUI prosecutor for years. He prosecuted the most high-profile DUI cases in Clark County. No one knows more about DUI law in Nevada. Just Google it. If you get charged with DUI, whether it's a misdemeanor or even more importantly, a felony, you need Thomas Moskal representing you. His relationships with the prosecutors and judges and his knowledge of DUI law to work for you. So give him a call now or text him at 702-848-5555. It's your life and liberty that's at stake. Don't wait. Call now. That number again, 702-848-5555. Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams, treatments such as testosterone enhancement and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554.
A great time! Your entertainment destination, the South Point, invites you to experience the ultimate great time under one roof. Bowling, dancing, a live show, a movie, delicious dining, and one of South Point's 11 restaurants. So much to see, so much to do. You won't know where to start first. This week, make it a South Point week and discover for yourself why the South Point is your entertainment destination for a great time.
Best of Las Vegas winners each of the last 2 years. Glazed Donuts is a family business. Taste the passion and quality in each delectable handmade donut. Experience amazing fresh donuts at Glazed Donuts, located at 6545 South Fort Apache Road on the southwest corner of Sunset. Glaze is open every day from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. If you're interested in large orders, please call them at 702-246-2888. Follow Glaze on Facebook and Instagram, where they're showing off all their delicious treats. And check them out at glazedonutslv.com.
Experience the Artisan Hotel's themed suites, restaurant, bar, pool, and complimentary valet. During the week, the Artisan is a quiet Las Vegas retreat that's great for travelers and locals. The weekend is all about nonstop partying and the award-winning Artisan nightlife. All rooms include free gym access and Wi-Fi. The Artisan Hotel is centrally located between the Strip and downtown Las Vegas. Book your stay at artisanhotel.com. The Artisan Hotel, your unique Las Vegas boutique hotel.
Look, it's impossible for the average person to find a great attorney out there. There's so much misinformation. Now, let me introduce you to former Chief Deputy District Attorney Thomas Moskal. He was Las Vegas's top DUI prosecutor for years. He prosecuted the most high-profile DUI cases in Clark County. No one knows more about DUI law in Nevada. Just Google it. If you get charged with DUI, whether it's a misdemeanor or even more importantly, a felony, you need Thomas Moskal representing you. His relationships with the prosecutors and judges and his knowledge of DUI law to work for you. So give him a call now or text him at 702-848-5555. It's your life and liberty that's at stake. Don't wait. Call now. That number again, 702-848-5555. All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Monday. So glad you could join us. Of course, we're covering the breaking news. UNLV head football coach Marcus Arroyo was no longer in charge. He was fired by Eric Harper, UNLV athletic director, earlier today, and we're covering that story. I want to tell you guys about my friends at Sahara West Urgent and Primary Care, located right down the street, really, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. No appointment needed. And if you don't have insurance, they take most insurances, but if you don't have insurance, it's only going to cost you $95. I was in and out of there in 20 minutes. They're phenomenal. Please give them a call, 702-248-0554. They took care of me. I promise they will take care of you. You can also check out their website, which is SaharaWestUrgentCare.com. Of course, we're talking, as I mentioned, about the breaking news. Marcus Arroyo fired as the head football coach. I'm taking the timing of this as a statement. Eric Harper said, I don't care whether we're painting the cannon red. I think this is a statement. And he's telling everybody, doesn't matter. That's not enough. Painting the cannon red is not enough. We didn't have a good enough year for me to say, hey, let's bring Marcus Arroyo back for another year. And I'm not going to let painting the cannon red interfere with the future of this program. He didn't have a press conference tomorrow. He could have easily said, let's let Marcus Arroyo, the coaching staff, and the players enjoy this victory, paint the cannon red, and we'll fire Marcus Arroyo tomorrow. Now, he could have easily made that decision. To me, this is a decision that was made intentionally. I really believe that. He knew that the cannon was being painted red when he did this press conference. He knew it, but he decided not to care about that. I believe this is a statement. And by the way, and maybe I'm wrong, but I believe this was intentional, and I believe it's raising the bar of the standard of UNLV football, which has been a bad program for decades. We all know that. But the standard is, listen, man, this isn't good enough. 3 years, you don't make a bowl game. We need a coach to get in here and make a bowl game. Doesn't have to happen year one. Maybe it doesn't even have to happen in year two, but it should happen within 3 years. You got to find a way to make a bowl game. And I agree with this decision wholeheartedly. As I say it over again, I believe Harper was being very honest with me when he came on this show at the beginning of the year. He gave an honest answer, which was, we need to see improvement within the program. And clearly, it didn't happen. It didn't happen in year one. It didn't really happen in year two, and it didn't happen in year three. And some of the Kool-Aid drinkers will say 0 wins to 2 wins to 5 wins. That is not enough. He had to make a bowl game this year. I believe that's what Harper really believed in his mind at the beginning of the year. It's bowl game or broke. And losing on the road to Hawaii the way they did was an embarrassment. Okay, now you almost made it into an embarrassment on Saturday. Nevada Reno had to gain 3 yards. That's all they had to gain with like a minute to go. They had first and goal at the 3-yard line. They spiked the football on first down. And by the way, Nevada Reno's really bad. They have a really bad quarterback. Their defense, especially against the run, is one of the worst in the country. By the way, how about the play calling? UNLV didn't run the ball very much. And I understand that your starting quarterback went down with a back injury. I get that, which makes the argument even more telling. Why didn't you run the football more? They didn't. And they almost lost that game, and that would have been a real embarrassment. But Arroyo, after the game, was making it about progression and like they just won, a bowl game or something. It was absurd. So,
here's the deal, Brian. That you can make the case that the decision was made before the Reno game, right? Because you're not going to have the mentality. You're not going to take the approach of, oh, yeah, they win a game to cap the season off, by the way, against your in-state rival. And that's going to be some motivating factor to letting Marcus Arroyo go. Makes no sense. So you can deduce, you can make the assessment that the decision was made after the Hawaii game. The decision was already made. Now we can go down rabbit holes as to breaking down the game against Reno and all that. But here's the deal. You just talked about it, okay, as far as Eric Harper and his timing here on this Monday to make this decision. Let me tell you something. Talk is cheap. Especially when it comes to this program right now. The rubber needs to meet the road. The results need to be he needs to make the right decision. We understand that Eric Harper is trying to make his stamp on this program as the athletic director. He's been there. He was there when Desiree Reed-Francois was there, and when the decision to hire Marcus Arroyo was made. And myself and Mark, we talked about this during the break. As far as this is the elephant in the room, Brian. All right, a big part of this is that Marcus Arroyo was never Harp's guy. It was never his guy. He was never on board with hiring Marcus Arroyo in the first place. So Marcus Arroyo was always up against it regarding with Eric Harper at the helm as the athletic director here at UNLV. So now he gets a chance to pick his guy. And so when I talk about making a stamp on the program, this is absolutely a critical decision that Eric Harper is going to make as athletic director here at UNLV, because he's not making a decision regarding any basketball coach or any other coach for that matter that's consequential, that really is going to make his mark as the athletic director here at UNLV. So make no mistake about it, he has to be able to make the right call here with respect to his hiring of the next head coach here at UNLV. And
I've always tried to be as honest as I can on and off the air about UNLV. I give credit where credit is due when I believe you need to give a coach credit, when it's fair to do so. I gave Kevin Kruger credit last year because even though the team did not necessarily compete for a Mountain West Conference championship, they had a decent year under year one, and I gave him credit for that. And I have questioned at times his recruiting in the offseason. But I am going to tell you this right now. I had a really good conversation with Curtis Terry at the UNLV football game. And Curtis is a great guy, bleeds UNLV red, but Curtis is also honest on the air. And he criticized TJ Otzelberger at times, rightfully so. TJ never wanted to be here. That's just the bottom line. Another bad hire by Francois. He didn't want to be here. That's part of being an athletic director. You hire a coach that wants to be here. But I talked to Curtis, and Curtis told me, listen, this UNLV basketball team, they don't really need a guy that can score in the post. Why? Because they have guys that are making shots now. They struggled a little bit early. They beat two pretty good basketball teams. Okay, Minnesota's a pretty good basketball team. They made Minnesota look really bad over the weekend. Why? UNLV's defense. Kevin Kruger, like his father, really good defensive-minded basketball coach. And the thing about most sports, especially college basketball, if you're really good defensively, and I believe UNLV is a top 25 team in the country defensively. I think they are a nationally ranked team right now defensively. I'm not talking about the other side. But I believe when you're that good defensively, and I talked to a couple Division I college basketball coaches, one of whom scrimmaged UNLV earlier this year. And I don't think he'd mind me saying his name. I'm talking about Todd Simon, who's a great guy, great basketball coach. He's done a fine job at Southern Utah. I think we all could agree on that. And they scrimmaged UNLV earlier this year. And I said, Todd, what do you think about this UNLV basketball team? And he told me, he said, they're probably going to struggle to score, particularly on the road. But they're really good defensively. They get after it. That's what Todd told me. And in watching this team play, what they did to Dayton, what they did to Minnesota, and winning that basketball tournament, they won that tournament over the weekend. That's a big deal for a year two coach.
Well, here's the deal with UNLV basketball: they win. I mean, they've won every single game this year. So
but I look
at a stellar start.
I look at quality of teams, and they beat two quality teams. Minnesota's a decent team. Dayton's a decent team. Are they top 10 teams in the country? Top 20? No, but these are two decent basketball teams with decent programs. And Kevin got in there, and Gilbert is making shots now. There are guys around him that are starting to shoot better and make shots, and it starts with their defense. And I know that it'll be interesting to see them play teams on the road like Boise State and San Diego State. San Diego State's pretty good this year. But when you play the type of defense that UNLV plays, just like when Lon Kruger was here, right? He didn't have a lot of extremely gifted offensive players. He had some good players, but they always had a chance to win. It's because of their defense. Their half-court defense was just, and their defense in transition, kids just got after it. And there is no question that this is a Lon Kruger imprint basketball team. Kevin is doing a good job. That's what we see by improvement. I think the men's basketball team is going to be just fine. Now, they're going to be a top 25 team. Are they going to be making the NCAA tournament? Probably not.
Well, here's the deal, though, Brian. Look, we all understand. We were skeptical from the start because the whole idea was that, okay, Kevin Kruger's getting hired because he has the last name Kruger, right? He's had no head coaching experience whatsoever. He's being brought in here. Obviously, he used to play here at UNLV, so we have a familiarity with him. But we had no idea what to expect from Kevin as a head coach here at UNLV. So,
I had an idea.
We're talking about we were kind of transitioning away from the football program, talking about the basketball program. But look, he's been solid as a head coach here so far. Yeah. The jury's still out on Kevin. Look, until this team is consistently competing for Mountain West championships, which is where they should be. That's what the level should be here at UNLV basketball. There is no excuse whatsoever for UNLV hoops not to be one of the top 2 or 3 programs in the Mountain West every single year. That's just the way it should be. There's no excuse whatsoever for it not being the case. And it just hasn't been the case. They haven't been a team that's been in the NCAA tournament since, 2013, which is ridiculous. So, look, Kevin Kruger, without question, he's had a solid start to his head coaching career here. But I'm not going to start talking about him, being some kind of next-level guy yet. It's been a solid start, obviously. It's been an unbelievable start to the 2022-23 season for him and UNLV. But make no mistake about it, that was a solid hire. Okay, as of right now, it looks like a good hire for UNLV. Let's hope that Harp can make a decision right along those lines when it comes to the football program, because it's going to be absolutely consequential who the next guy is that they bring in here as far as UNLV football is concerned.
I came around with the Kevin Kruger hire because his father's Lon Kruger. He moved to Las Vegas, and he was willing to be a part of the UNLV basketball program again. And as soon as I heard about that, I said, this is an imprint. Kevin is going to try to do what his father did here. Start with defense and rebounding and then take it from there. Recruit a bunch of JUCO kids and transfers and try to develop them like Lon did with guys like Joel Anthony and Wink Adams. And I think that's exactly what Kevin Kruger is doing, and that's what he's going to continue to do. So I'm happy that the men's it might not be the most exciting brand of basketball. It's a lot of half-court offense. They're not running. Who cares? I don't care about that. I care about wins and losses and being nationally relevant again. And I think Kevin's done a great job so far, and he's certainly off to a wonderful start this year, and we'll have to see how this plays out. As far as the football program goes, mark my words, we are going to look back on this day as many of the UNLV fans and even members of the media are saying that this was a bad decision or not the right decision, or maybe some of those members of the media are gutless and they won't even give an opinion on the firing, which I think is ridiculous. With that being said, mark my words, we're going to look back on this day and say Eric Harper made arguably one of the best decisions that athletic director has made in a decade. This was the right decision, and it is going to pay dividends, and I have faith that he's going to hire a good head coach to move this program along.
Well, here's the thing, Brian. If you don't have an opinion or you're not going to express your opinion, you have no business working.
Well, Caleb won't give an opinion.
You don't have any business working in sports radio because that's what we do. Well, that's our thing. We give opinions.
Then can I ask you this?
That's the whole point.
Then let me ask you this.
Okay.
Am I wrong in saying it's ridiculous that the color commentator for UNLV football refuses to give an opinion on the firing of the head coach of the program? That's absurd.
Well, look, I'm not. He has his reasons. Maybe it's because it's so sudden. Maybe he wants to formulate his opinion first before he actually goes out there with a hardcore take as far as what he believes and as far as his reflection on the entire situation. But make no mistake about it, if it's not in a timely fashion, as in, the next couple of days, and you work in sports radio in Vegas or you work in the media and you don't have an opinion, then that's kind of weak.
What would you say about the members of the media, and you know who I'm talking about in this town, that are going to be doing radio shows later today, that are going to be saying, oh, this was a shock, and I'm surprised. They should have brought him back another year or two. The program was moving in the right direction. I can tell you right now, if you listen to the flagship, what they're going to be saying, not all of them, but some of them are going to be saying, this is a shock. The program was moving in the right direction. I'm shocked that Harper made this decision. I don't think you're going to have one person on the flagship that is going to say this was absolutely 100% the right decision. Not one. How can you cover a team? We can all have different opinions. That's fine. Yeah. But I don't think there's going to be one person on the air that's going to say that. Not one.
I don't think if anybody out there uses the word shock, Brian, to describe Marcus Arroyo being let go, I don't think they have been intellectually honest. I don't think they've covered UNLV football fairly, yeah. Because that's ridiculous.
But you know what I'm talking about.
To say you think it's going to be, I just can't believe it happened, is utterly ridiculous, right? Yeah. Because we know the culture around this program. We know the situation. We've covered this team for not just this season, for a number of years. We know the deal.
And let's be honest, the attendance has not been good. I mean, I heard some people say that the attendance was good. The entire upper bowl is closed. The lower bowl, there were a lot of Nevada Reno fans there. The crowd was not as good as it should have been. But let's be honest here, and you tell me if you disagree. If they beat Hawaii, and this game was a chance to make it to a bowl game, there's no question there'd be more people in the stands. I understand that the Nevada UNLV rivalry is important, and it should be. I don't have a problem with that. But this game was not as important Saturday as it should have been. I planned and by the way, we'll talk about my Thanksgiving trip coming back, but I planned my trip coming back, my flight even, to be at that game on Saturday. The reason being was I thought, and I said this in the middle of the season, if you recall, 7 or 8 games into it, when they lost a couple games in a row, I said, I think it's going to come down to the Nevada Reno game. Right. I thought that they would have 5 wins heading into that Nevada Reno game, and I was wrong because of that embarrassing loss on the road against Hawaii. So from the grand scheme of making a bowl game, they're not going to be in a bowl. I understand that they could still be eligible. I get all that.
Well, I don't understand why you're being so definitive on that. There's people out there that absolutely think that if there is an opportunity and that they do get offered a game, they're going to be going. So, I mean, it's difficult to make a definitive statement like that, given that there's still the possibility.
Well, I don't think they're going to be in a bowl. I don't think that's going to happen, but rightfully so. I certainly agree with the decision We're going to have to wait and see how this thing plays out. I believe it was an intentional press conference today at the point where they were unprecedented, you can say, but while they were actually, players were painting the cannon red, Eric Harper was holding a press conference firing the head football coach. So you can say that's unprecedented. I think that was Eric Harper making a statement.
Checking the Facebook Live text line, Brian. Johnny Lane chimes in regarding bowl game situations in UNLV. There are too many bowl games out there for an athletic program like UNLV to be missing. They should always be able to make the 9 Lives Cat Food Bowl. Now, look, I would counter that statement, Johnny, by saying this.
That's funny.
This is a UNLV football program. Correct me if I'm wrong. It hasn't been to a bowl game in like 7 years. So I don't know what he's talking about as far as like every single year they're in bowl contention, because they just haven't been.
Yeah.
But look, when it comes, you talked about this, Brian. Expectations, right? Mm-hmm. You talked about what Harp and the athletic department thinks regarding UNLV football and having elevated expectations. Obviously, the expectations are elevated. It's basically on the ground floor right now. It's a program that is looking to elevate themselves, period, to be relevant when it comes to the college football landscape. Get back in the mix. Have people care about UNLV football. You talked about the attendance, right? Yeah, where there was a smattering of fans throughout the season this year. Yeah, there were some games where fans showed up, and there was decent crowds out there. But look, there's other problematic situations too. You got, a huge stadium and a leading stadium. You got a program that again has been a losing program for a long time. There's a lot of reasons. The totem pole of Las Vegas sports that UNLV football is nowhere near the top of. So there's a lot of factors as to why the fans haven't showed up. But this idea of elevated expectations, it's an obvious point. It's capped an obvious point by Eric Harper.
So we'll continue to monitor this and cover it a little bit more in depth tomorrow, and kind of focus on who's next. So we'll continue that conversation tomorrow. Mm-hmm. But again, Marcus Arroyo fired as the head UNLV football coach. I commend Eric Harper from what I consider is the right decision to make, and I think it'll pay dividends down the road. And we'll have Eric Harper on the show this week. He always comes on the show when I ask, and I appreciate Eric Harper for his candidness, so he will be joining us at some point this week. He's Chris Wynn. I'm Brian Shapiro. All right, we're going to have some fun. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, oh boy, I wanted to start off the show doing this, but of course we had to talk about the breaking news. But stories from Connecticut, stories on my Thanksgiving trip with my Looney Tune family. Boy, the stories are endless, ladies and gentlemen, and we are going to talk about it. We'll get what Chris did on Thanksgiving, his Thanksgiving stories. I don't know if they'll be as entertaining as mine, but Chris, I think you're going to enjoy these.
PTL Nation's intrigued, Mark, because you just described his family as Looney Tune.
They are. You think
in air quotes, Mark, Looney Tune family, the Shapiros.
You think I'm unstable? Times 10. Some of these stories. So we'll share it when we come back. He's Chris Wynn. I'm Brian Shapiro. Mark Hayes in studio. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You are listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super hero, that is, because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Look, it's impossible for the average person to find a great attorney out there. There's so much misinformation. Now, let me introduce you to former Chief Deputy District Attorney Thomas Moskal. He was Las Vegas's top DUI prosecutor for years. He prosecuted the most high-profile DUI cases in Clark County. No one knows more about DUI law in Nevada. Just Google it. If you get charged with DUI, whether it's a misdemeanor or even more importantly a felony, you need Thomas Moskal representing you. His relationships with the prosecutors and judges and his knowledge of DUI law to work for you. So give him a call now or text him at 702-848-5555. It's your life and liberty that's at stake. Don't wait. Call now. That number again, 702-848-5555. Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams and treatments such as testosterone enhancement and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554.
It's time for the most interactive radio program in Las Vegas today. It's time for Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro. Brian will talk sports, politics, entertainment, and anything that matters to you. Feel free to call Brian at 702-221-7283.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Now, Pushing the Limits, here's Brian Shapiro.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits, hour number 2. So glad you could join us, and we are streaming live everywhere. We're on YouTube, we're on Twitter, anywhere you can find us, and of course the AM dial 1400 on KSHP. He's Chris Wynn. I'm Brian Shapiro. So those of you that are unaware, I'm very appreciative, by the way, of Doug Basham filling in for me. He did a wonderful job. Doug's a great guy. Glad Michelle was able to come in as well, and I'm very appreciative to them. For those of you that are wondering where I went, obviously Thanksgiving, the holidays. I'm originally from Connecticut. As my pen falls apart here. So I decided to go back and visit my family for Thanksgiving. That's where I went to high school, elementary school. That's where I went to college. I attended Central Connecticut State University, a very small D1 school. And
you actually went to the game, didn't you? You were there actually at the basketball game.
You're getting ahead of me. Yeah. Hold your horses there, Tiger. Yes, Central Connecticut State University. We'll talk about that. Chris, I'm going to go through my trip, my man, and I want to hear your commentary on your thoughts. But anyway, so I had a friend of mine, Sarah, a good friend who's
been on the show.
She's been on the show many times before, and she came out with me. I'm appreciative. She was able to meet my family. Anyway, flying out there, I got to say, Delta's a really good airline. I had as much as I've complained about some of the airlines out there, Frontier is a garbage airline, and Spirit is even worse. I got to say, Delta's awesome. I was able to sit in a very comfortable seat, aisle seat, and I had a TV in front of me. The staff was so nice. It was nice to be on a good airline for once. Delta's solid, man. I flew out there. It was smooth sailing, so to speak, or I should say smooth flying. So the trip started out really, really well. Landed in Connecticut. It was like 40 degrees outside, freezing. So immediately it smacks you in the face. God, I hate it here. That's the first thing that I said to myself. But I stayed in a really nice hotel with my friend in Hartford, right next to the Capitol there. And I was able to celebrate my mom's birthday. In the first night, we went and we ate hibachi. We went to a nice hibachi restaurant. So my mother gives my friend some gifts. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, this friend had never met my family before. Maybe it's a gift card or something. Or I don't know. I didn't know what she gave my friend as a gift. Lo and behold, I learned that my mother, who had only talked to this woman a few times, and I'm not making this up, this is how crazy my mom is, gave my friend pornography. Yes.
Wait, time out.
Yes.
Seriously?
I'm not kidding. Porn DVDs. I said, Mom, and of course my friend is like, whoa, I wasn't expecting this. And I'm embarrassed. And I'm like, Mom, what are you doing? This is inappropriate. If you've known this person for a long time and it's like kind of a gag, I guess it would be okay. But you want to talk about beyond inappropriate. So right from
it may be inappropriate, Mr. Shapiro, but it's damn funny. That is hilarious. Come on now.
I am completely embarrassed. And my friend is like, oh, this is interesting. It's funny because one of the DVDs my mom thought was a porn. I don't remember the name of the movie, but it actually wasn't. It was like an R-rated movie. But the other DVD, I'm not going to repeat the name on the air because it breaks FCC regulations, but it was a porn. And I'm thinking to myself, first of all, my mom even owning pornography is so disgusting to me. Okay, that's number one. And how could my dad, I'm like, my dad's just standing there like, that's your mother. He's giving me one of these looks. And then my friend's looking at me, and we're all kind of, that uncomfortable laugh that you've had at times in certain
100%.
situations?
Yes.
We all are having this uncomfortable laugh, and I'm angry. I'm getting red in the face like, Mom, what the hell is wrong with you? Are you crazy? What, Brian? She's got this New York guy. What's the big deal, Brian? I'm just giving your friend some porn. I said, Mom, this is inappropriate. You don't know this woman. This is not the right thing to do. Now, my friend took it very well, and she said, thank you, Denise. That's her name, my mom. Thank you for the porn.
Thank you for the porn.
Yeah, maybe my dad isn't getting it done in the bedroom. I don't want to think about that stuff. It's disgusting. But anyway, that's
so. Brian, on the list of things that a parent would give to Brian and his girlfriend
she's not my girlfriend.
Okay, so she's a girl and she's a friend. So
she
that
is
would
a
make her
friend.
I'm not saying she's your quote unquote girlfriend, but she's a girl and she's your friend, so that makes her a girlfriend.
No more than your male roommate is your boyfriend.
The point being is that on that list of things that a parent would give a newly met person that is a friend or acquaintance of your son. Porn would not be up there at a high level as far as choices.
Yes.
Except in the Shapiro household.
It gets worse. It gets worse.
Keep it going.
Because I also learned that she had private conversations with my friend who she just met. How do I even say this on the air? About their sex life.
This sounds like a very intimate situation in which you apparently are in denial that this, that this could possibly go. Look, I don't want to dive too much into this, but
no, don't. Please
we don't
don't.
really want to dive into this because it gets too personal. But
Please don't.
But it's very strange. I have to admit, Brian.
Yes.
As you tell the story, it is a tad bit strange.
It's awful. All right, so let's move on because this is just a disgusting conversation for me to have. But anyway, that's how my trip started. So very normal.
Well, we saw the video. All of us got a chance to see it on social media. The hibachi run. That was quality.
I took my parents out
you
for
got to
hibachi.
See your pops. Your pops looks a lot like Ted Turner, my friend. He's got Mark. I'm telling you, he's got very Ted Turner-ish look about him.
So anyway, there's like nothing to do in Connecticut, right? So I'm trying to plan out things to do. My first job in radio, I was the play-by-play announcer for Central Connecticut State University basketball and football.
Of course you were.
So I decided that I'm going to hit up the SID, Sports Information Director for Central Connecticut State University, big-time job. And I said, hey, can you get me a couple media credentials? I want to cover the game. I used to do play-by-play for you guys 20 years ago. This guy has no idea.
Should be automatic. You're an alum.
This guy has no idea who I am, and that's
automatic.
That's fine. Don't care. I just said, hey, I put him on my company email. I'm in radio and all that
Shouldn't
stuff.
Shouldn't be a problem at all, right?
No. I get an email back that says, hi, Brian. And I'm paraphrasing here. Unfortunately, I can only give media credentials to working members of the media. I responded back and I said, let me get this right. Now, I don't want to sound like I'm Mr. Ego and name drop or any of that stuff because that's not who I am.
No, but PTL listeners out there, they know the deal. You tend to be snarky.
Okay,
You're a snarky guy.
I was a little upset that as an alumni who worked at the college radio station, who did play-by-play for the team, who gets credentialed to every Raiders game, every Knights game, every UNLV game.
Yes,
I've been to the Super Bowl. I've been to the Final Four, all credentialed, by the way.
No question.
That I can't even get a media credential.
I'm sorry, but that's hilarious.
Hold on,
man.
Wait. It's not like they were even playing like a powerhouse. It was a Central Connecticut.
The Maine Black Bears came to town, man. That's big time.
Maine CCSU.
What are you talking about?
There were about. So what did I end up doing? And I'm pissed off, right? I'm like, what a jerk, Like here I am as an alum too. I get credentialed to all this stuff, but when I go to a CCSU game, welcome to CCSU athletics, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, their basketball team is a joke. They are pathetic. Donielle Marshall ruined that program. And I saw the former CCSU coach. He was the former assistant under Jim Calhoun at UConn, named Howie Dickerman. Great basketball coach. Great guy. It was great to see him again. I hadn't seen him in 20 years. And by the way, CCSU hadn't won a game this year. They've won I feel like they've won 10 games in 6 years. They are terrible, at the bottom of the barrel in the Northeast Conference. So I have to buy tickets. Now, the tickets were only $8, okay? $8 a ticket. It was the principle of it. There were 30 people in the stands watching this game, okay? So I'm sitting there, I'm watching the game, I'm angry. The team is getting their butt kicked. They lose to Maine. And after the game, I had a chance to have a brief conversation with the athletic director. Super nice guy. And I told him what I did, and I told him I played 2 sports there, tennis and golf. He was a very nice guy, and he's like, I'm really sorry that we weren't able to take care of you. That was a mistake. We got you next time. I'm like, okay, no problem. Not going to worry about it. So we saw this horrible CCSU game, and my mom's like, Brian, your basketball team is terrible. And I said to her, I'm like, it's not my basketball team, Mom. They were really good when I was
No, it
here.
is your basketball team. You're an alum.
Well,
you have to own your school, bro.
They made the
Come on.
NCAA tournament when I was there.
Yeah.
They were winning conference, and they were pretty good. But anyway, that was my CCSU experience. They're called
You can't disown your Blue Devils, bro. You just can't bail on them like that.
They're definitely not Duke. When I called them Blue Devils, oh, yeah, I didn't go to Duke. But then again, maybe I'd take some good classes, and I'd end up like Kyrie Irving and tell everybody that the Earth is flat. But anyway, that's how the CCSU game went.
Right.
On a serious note, I did get a chance to see the gravesite of my grandparents, which is something that I've been wanting to do. I haven't done that in 20 years, I'm embarrassed to say, and it's a little bit of a drive. It's like an hour, but it was nice to be able to do that. That was like checklist. This is something I need to do. And I'm very appreciative that I was able to do that. Had a few blow-ups with my sister. Without getting into too much detail, she likes to smoke cigarettes, and there are people in this world, right, that are addicted to nicotine. But it got to the point where we were having dinners, and she had to leave in the middle of dinner. Keep in mind, I'm only there once every couple of years, and she'd leave the dinner table to smoke cigarettes. So I got pissed off at her for that. I'm like, can't you just wait until we're done eating dinner? It got to a point where she didn't have any cigarettes on her, and I didn't want to give her a ride to a gas station to get cigarettes. She was running around the parking lot like a bum looking for cigarette butts. I mean, that's really bad when you get to that point. Yeah, so I was a little upset at my sister for that.
That's a little weird.
Yeah, it was that was not good. That was not good. With that being said, I said to myself, I want to meet I want to meet up with some of my classmates that I went to elementary school and high school. That was kind of cool. I got to say, not everybody has aged very well. The people that I met up with have aged very well. I met up with my friend Jason, who I was on the golf team with in high school. He's now the fire marshal out there. He's got like a big-time job out there in Connecticut. He was telling me how great the job is, so I'm really happy for him. It's interesting. I met up with a couple female former classmates of mine from Hall High class of 98. I hardly talked to them at all when I went to high school with them. And I talk to them more now, and they're just such nice people. It's so great that we're back in touch with each other. So they showed up. I met up with my friend Nick, who I went to elementary school with. He's a plumber now. He owns his own plumbing business. His girlfriend is super sweet, and he likes to gamble. He likes to bet on sports. Sports betting is legal in Connecticut, so he talks about his sports betting, and we had some really cool conversations back in the day. One of my friends who used to cheat in high school, we took this English class, right?
Used to cheat?
Yeah, we had this vocabulary test every week, and what he would do is he would write, spell out these spelling vocabulary words, and he would put them in his hat. And during the test, he would take his hat off and he would look at it. And I saw him cheating, and I didn't snark on him. I actually thought it was kind of funny. So we actually talked about that, and he started dying laughing, and it was just hilarious. We talked a little bit about Sean Burke, who is the former Hartford Whalers goaltender and is now the goalie coach for the Vegas Golden Knights. And I see him at games, and we always knuckle each other, say hi to each other, and we reminisce about the Hartford Whalers and how horrible living in Hartford is or was. So it was nice to reminisce. And
it still sucks though that the Whalers aren't there in Hartford anymore. That
does.
was kind of cool. That whole setup, that whole thing. I was very fortunate. I moved my senior year of high school to Western Massachusetts, so I had a chance to go down to the Hartford Civic Center there in the mall, Brian, where, of course, you're very familiar with.
Of course.
You get a chance to see a lot of Hartford Whaler games
Yeah,
down
yeah,
there.
of course.
So that was super cool. So the NHL is not better off because they don't have a franchise there in Hartford. I really wish they would find some way to get back into that market.
So they have a fairly new AA baseball stadium. The team there is called the Yard Goats.
Yes, they are.
AA baseball team. They used to have the Norwich Navigators, which was the AAA affiliate of the New York Yankees. That has now gone. So there's really not a lot in Hartford, man. There's nothing to do out there. Maybe cow tipping. I don't know. There's not a lot to do out there. I don't know.
The insurance capital of the world, my friend.
Yeah, I don't know
insurance
what those
agencies all over the place.
I don't know what those people in Storrs, Connecticut that attend UConn are doing besides drinking. In Connecticut, there's really not much to do. But I will say this: the food out there is fantastic.
Really, in Connecticut?
Fantastic. So if you really want a good meal in Vegas, it's not hard to find one, but you're going to have to spend money, right? There's a lot of fancy restaurants out here, but it's going to cost you a lot of money to do so. In Connecticut, you could have the best lunch of your life for like $15-20. Family-owned pizza restaurants, family-owned restaurants in general, less large company, places, and the food out there, the sushi is great. I had the best steak of my life out there. There's a steakhouse downtown there. It was honestly the best steak of my life. It just melted in my mouth. It was such great food. I was able to take my family out for Thanksgiving night because my mom doesn't cook. I was making fun of my mom a little bit because she cooks very bland. She's a bad cook, man, and that's the worst thing you can do when you talk about any woman, let alone your mom. If you call them a bad cook, it's very insulting, but I'm just honest because my mom's very blunt and honest with me as well, and she's just not a good cook. I don't know how my dad puts up with it, but anyway,
I think of food destinations, right, Mark, and PTL listeners out there. I think New Orleans, New York City, San Francisco, and I probably wouldn't put Hartford, Connecticut up there, but apparently, according to Brian,
it's really good.
They got
Here's why.
all kinds of quality food over there.
Like I said, a lot of family-owned, home-cooked, type restaurants where they put their heart and soul into the food. And I feel like in Las Vegas, it's more large company-owned places. I'm not, listen, there's a lot of great food in Las Vegas. Don't get me wrong, but you have to spend a lot of money, and you usually have to go to a really fine dining place to really say, wow, that was an unbelievable meal. You can go to some great sandwich shops. There's plenty of places out here, Capriati's being one of them. There's great places you go for lunch. We like going to Arizona Charlie's out here as well. That's another story I have, by the way. My Arizona Charlie's story last night when it comes to a dealer that was a Trump supporter. Anyway, we'll get to that in a little bit.
Oh boy, yeah. I was present for that exchange that went down.
So anyway, it was great to see the family. Normal family drama that is to be expected. I didn't expect
normal for the Shapiro clan, right?
Didn't expect my mom to be giving my friend pornography as a gift. That was very strange, but all in all, it was a good trip. I really enjoyed seeing my family. I hate Connecticut with a passion, but I like the people.
Wait a minute, you just you just wax poetic about Connecticut and the food options?
Yeah, the food. That doesn't mean I love it there. Just like the food.
Okay.
You want to know what I hate about Connecticut?
What do you
Almost
hate about it?
Everything except the food.
Really?
Yes. It's cold. The people there are snotty. There's nothing to do. The Strip in Hartford or in West Hartford or in that area is a couple Barnes and Nobles and some restaurants in West Farms Mall. That is it. There is no nightlife. There is nothing to do. You can drive an hour from Hartford and go to maybe Mohegan Sun or Foxwoods. Yeah. It is boring. I hate it out there. But I will say this, the people are very educated out there. The school system is very good. I'll give number two thing about Connecticut. Very good, get a very good education out there. It's a good, smart.
Some of the best universities in the world, too.
Yes, Yale, of course, Yale. Very smart people in Connecticut, very educated people. It's a nice, safe place to raise a family. It's just dead out there. There's nothing to do, man. It's just terrible. The best thing about living in Connecticut for me is you're right in between Boston and New York. Other than that, I hate it out there. I only go there for one reason and one reason only for the most part is to see my family and friends, and that is it. And I am so glad I live in Las Vegas. I love it here. I am so glad I am back in town and back to business. By the way, the Pac-12 championship is Friday, and it is Utah, I believe, is going to be playing USC. Yeah. I'm excited for that game on Friday right here in our backyard at Allegiant. Two really good football teams with good programs. Notice I didn't put UNLV in there. That's going to be a fun game on Friday. Then you and I are going out to Pahrump, of all places. We're going to spend some time there at the Golden Nugget with our friend Al DeLeon. We're going to play in a golf tournament on Saturday. And, hey, we got the NFL in Las Vegas on Sunday.
And a fun fact, Brian, I've lived in Las Vegas for close to 20 years. Never been to Pahrump, ever. Never been there. Never been over the mountain. Go check it out.
Last time I was in Pahrump, I saw somebody walking their goat. I'm not kidding.
Are you serious?
I'm not kidding. I saw somebody.
There's goat herders out there?
Yes, I saw somebody walking.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's last time I was out there. That's what I saw. But anyway, looking forward to
There's goat herders, and there's Roy Masters, his former radio studio, right?
Yes. So here's something interesting for you. I went to Arizona Charlie's last night.
Yes, you did.
And I like Arizona Charlie's.
Do.
Our friend Al out there, we're going to be going there for lunch today, and I enjoy going out there. The people there are very nice. They treat me very well. I like the food out there, the cafe. I'm talking about the place on Decatur. The food is fantastic. I like Arizona Charlie's.
It gets rowdy on NFL Sundays, right?
Yeah,
and college football
Chris,
Saturdays.
Chris
it's a
likes
good atmosphere, right?
I know. You can speak for yourself, but I know that Chris enjoys it because when he's sitting at the bar having a few drinks playing Caveman Keno, there's always a chance you could get the number of a 75-year-old woman sitting there playing a slot machine. So I know you enjoy it for that reason as well, right?
Between 60 and 75. let's make it a broader scope. But yes, I do love the multi-options, right, Brian? Because I can watch my sports bets, right? I can play my caveman Keno, and Mr. Shapiro, I can play my live Keno too, because they got the screen up there, the monitor with the live Keno. So it's an all engulfing smorgasbord for C-Win. I'm talking about myself in the third person, yes. For me on the gambling front. But we fast forward now to you and your experience at the craps table last night.
Yeah, so I wasn't playing for a lot of money yesterday. I was just having a little bit of fun and at the craps table. And I didn't bring up the topic of politics. I don't at the craps table. But
which would make sense.
I don't do that. Right. I bring up politics with friends, people I know. I never bring it up at the gambling table unless somebody brings it up first and sets me off, right? That was the case yesterday. There was a dealer at the table yesterday. I'd never seen him there at Arizona Choice before. He's a dealer. He was the stick man, I believe, at the time. And he started talking about Joe Biden and gas prices. And then I said to him, what are you talking about? Yeah. And then he brought up what most idiotic, dumb Trump supporters will bring up is the pipeline. Now, obviously, people who bring that up have no idea what they're talking about, because even if Joe Biden did okay the pipeline, it would not have been in effect for another couple of years. Right now, it has no effect on gas prices. And, of course, the fact that pretty much all over the world, gas prices have been through the roof. That's not Joe Biden's problem. Joe Biden doesn't set the gas prices. And if this guy had an IQ over 20, he would have understood that. If you look at the oil refinery companies in the last year, they have record profits. Right. Okay? It's called corporate greed. But anybody who has an IQ over 20 would know that. And he also made statements that Trump is a great president.
Well, here's where I can chime in, right, Brian? Because I walk up to the table, obviously being there, and I decided to play for a little bit, and I happened to get right in the middle of this exchange, back and forth between the two of you. Yep. So I walk up, PTL listeners out there, I walk up to the table, and what I hear, the first thing I hear when I walk up to the table is the dealer say to Brian, yeah, he can be an a-hole, or he can be a jerk, but that still doesn't mean he wasn't a great president. Talking about Donald Trump. And right there, I knew right away what this guy's mindset was and who, what camp he was in when it came to politics. But that, Brian, wasn't it strange, though, that you're
I didn't bring it up.
Why would this conversation be taking place between you and an employee, a stick guy on the craps table talking about politics at all?
So here's how come up. So here's how I reacted and responded to it in only Shapiro fashion would.
Exactly.
I started to become very sarcastic with him. And I said, sir, you're absolutely right. If I ever have kids one day, I want them to be just like Donald Trump. He's a wonderful role model. January 6th was a great day for this country. He's an honest man. He treats women with respect. He treats minorities with respect. So, sir, you're absolutely right. He was a wonderful president. And then he looks at me and he goes, I think you're being sarcastic.
Yeah, to give him a little bit of credit, I guess. At least he recognized that you were being sarcastic.
So I looked at him and I said...
So he has that going for him, which is nice.
So I looked at him and I said, sir, you must be a poker player, because that's an incredible read you just made. So I can tell he was a little taken back by my sarcasm. And then what I proceeded to do is every single time I won a bet, and I mean every single time, for the next 5 minutes. I didn't torture him for very long. Yeah. If I won a bet, I said, okay, that's going to the Gavin Newsom campaign. That's going to the Hillary Clinton campaign. And you could see by the moment he was getting more and more agitated. But I'm making jokes. It's not, I'm just having fun with him. And then after 5 minutes, even though he's the person that brought up politics first, clearly he's regretting it. He looks at me and he goes, you're going to continue to talk politics, huh? And I looked at him and I went, who's the person who brought it up first? I'm just wondering. And he doesn't answer me.
And even I chimed in tongue-in-cheek, Mark. Even I chimed in tongue-in-cheek and said, no politics at the table, guys. No politics at the table. I was just being
Meanwhile,
funny.
The guy next,
I didn't really care.
The guy next
I
to
thought
me,
it was hilarious that Shapiro was basically ribbing this guy.
Yeah. So the guy next to me...
He deserved it.
Yeah, absolutely. The guy next to me who played college football, super nice guy. We're having a good time. We're talking. And he's loving it, and he's laughing because obviously he's a reasonable person. He's not a MAGA supporter, right? You're not reasonable at this day and age if you're a MAGA supporter. And he's like joking and saying things under his breath, and he's loving it because he's not liking the dealers either. And there was a moment where I guess the stick man that I'm getting into it with, and I'm having fun with him. It's not like malicious. I guess he put like his stick out by accident and the dice hit the stick and the guy who's throwing the dice threw a 7 out and he just got so angry. He just erupted. So it was a tough day for this guy, but I hope he learned his lesson that, first of all, don't bring up politics at a craps table, especially when you're an employee. And if you're going to do it, make sure you don't do it with an idiot talk show host who is an opposite of you.
He did. He bit off more than he can chew. He didn't understand, Brian, what he was dealing with Mr. Shapiro there at the table. So Johnny Lane chimes in on the Facebook line. He says, look, referring to this employee from Arizona Charlie, he said, he should have his ass nailed by management for voicing his political opinions, overtly at the craps table. That's what I was just saying. Like, I don't understand why you would even get into a political discussion with guests at the table because it can only end badly, right? There's there's nothing good that comes out of it unless you're both on the same side.
So here's where
everybody at the table is in agreement. But what if what if there's 5? There was like 4 or 5 people at the table that had different views and that completely, think the guy's an idiot. There's nothing good that comes out of that.
So I held some restraint there at the end. You'd be proud of me. Shapiro held some restraint. I won a couple $100, not a lot of money. Whenever I win in the world of gambling, I always take care of the dealers, always. In fact, sometimes, and you've seen this, sometimes I tip the dealers while I'm playing, I thought about doing this, and I used the better judgment. I figured I'm giving this guy a hard enough time, leave him alone. I was going to throw him $1 and then say, please donate that to the Trump campaign 2024. But I didn't do it. You know why I didn't do it? Because the employees there are very nice people, and I like Arizona Charlie.
I'm actually surprised you didn't give it to him and say donate it to the Joe Biden campaign in 2024. That's more along the lines of what I would expect you to do.
What an idiot, by the way. What a dummy. Not just for bringing up politics at the craps table as an employee, but like getting into it with me a little bit. Like, what are you doing, dude? Just do your job. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, my job is to talk about these things on the air, but I try to avoid getting into it with certain people, especially. I don't mind having a pleasant conversation with somebody, but it's like, dude, I'm playing craps. Like, I don't want to get into this with you. Yeah. But I can't help myself. Guy says some stupid comments about gas prices and how horrible Joe Biden is. I'm going to respond to it.
I got to say, though, it was rather beyond hilarious when he made the comment, I think you're being sarcastic.
Yeah.
I kind of detect some sarcasm coming your way.
Yeah, that was funny. All right, here's what we're going to do, C-Win. We're going to take a quick break. Hey, we got a positive for the Vegas Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders. Nice win on the road against the Seattle Seahawks, to my surprise. Coming up next, Chris, we're going to talk about this with my friend Scott Gilbertson from Silver and Black Today podcast. Does a great job. Nice win for the Raiders on the road against Pete Carroll's Seattle Seahawks. We'll talk about that next with Scott. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back right after this. You are listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Look, it's impossible for the average person to find a great attorney out there. There's so much misinformation. Now, let me introduce you to former Chief Deputy District Attorney Thomas Moskal. He was Las Vegas's top DUI prosecutor for years. He prosecuted the most high-profile DUI cases in Clark County. No one knows more about DUI law in Nevada. Just Google it. If you get charged with DUI, whether it's a misdemeanor or even more importantly, a felony, you need Thomas Moskal representing you. His relationships with the prosecutors and judges and his knowledge of DUI law to work for you. So give him a call now or text him at 702-848-5555. It's your life and liberty that's at stake. Don't wait. Call now. That number again, 702-848-5555. Hey, everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams, treatments such as testosterone enhancement, and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client. So please give them a call, 702-248-0554.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super hero, that is, because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Look, it's impossible for the average person to find a great attorney out there. There's so much misinformation. Now, let me introduce you to former Chief Deputy District Attorney Thomas Moskal. He was Las Vegas's top DUI prosecutor for years. He prosecuted the most high-profile DUI cases in Clark County. No one knows more about DUI law in Nevada. Just Google it. If you get charged with DUI, whether it's a misdemeanor or even more importantly, a felony, you need Thomas Moskal representing you. His relationships with the prosecutors and judges and his knowledge of DUI law to work for you. So give him a call now or text him at 702-848-5555. It's your life and liberty that's at stake. Don't wait. Call now. That number again, 702-848-5555. Welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits here on a Monday, joined in studio by Chris Mann. Appreciate you being here. I'll tell you guys about my good friend Jackson Bar and Grill located at Flamingo and Jones. One of my favorite gaming bars in town. Great promotions. Great, all month, every Sunday they've been giving away $50 free play when you earn 200 points. I got to get their new promotions by the way. Great food, great atmosphere there. Jackson's Bar and Grill, great gaming bar. Please check them out and tell them that I sent you. The Las Vegas Raiders have now won 2 games in a row, and what is impressive is that these are 2 games on the road. They beat a decent Seattle Seahawks team. Having a pretty good year, but the Seattle Seahawks are a winning football team. They were able to get on the road and get the W. And Josh Jacobs had a game that I think Raiders fans are going to remember. He's had a phenomenal year, but yesterday it was out of this world. I mean, he literally took that game into his own hands and won that game for the Raiders. For joining us I shouldn't say on the line right now, with video. Always a pleasure to have Gully Scott Garbertson joining us from Silver and Black Today podcast, one of the best covering the Las Vegas Raiders. Scott, good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Good to see you guys. How you doing on this Monday after a holiday? It's always tough. I mean, Mondays are tough to begin with, but after a holiday.
Sorry, Scott. We lost you there for a second. You still there with us?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Scott, are you there?
I'm here.
All right, sorry about that, my friend. Yeah. We got you now. We had a little music playing in the background. Sorry about that. That was okay. Fair introduction. Scott Gobertson from Silver and Black Today podcast joining us. Sorry about those technical difficulties. Scott, how you doing, my friend? Did we lose you? Uh-oh, did we lose Scott? Scott, are you still there? We are having some technical difficulties with the audio, unfortunately. We had Scott for a second. We lost him. Can Scott hear us? All right, we are going to try to redo that connection. I think we had Scott for a moment, and then we lost him. It's kind of like the Raiders over the weekend. They had the lead, then they lost it, then they got it back, then they lost it. So hopefully we'll get Scott back on the line with us. If not, we will reach out to Scott by phone or maybe take a break. Should we try one more time, see if Scott is there? Scott, can you hear me okay? All right, we are going to give Scott a phone call. I think that's what we will do, and I think that's the best thing to do at this point. Win, what were your thoughts on the Raiders game and the fact that the Raiders were able to come away with a victory?
Yeah, certainly another different type of viewpoint, right, regarding this Raiders organization, this team. After the last 2 weeks, being able to go on the road and get victories against the likes of the Broncos and, of course, the Seattle Seahawks. So no question.
Scott, I think I just heard you. Are you there?
You got me? You got me now?
I got you now, my friend.
Yep, we hear you now.
Yep.
What's up,
What's going on, Scott? How you doing?
Not much, man. I was saying before the interwebs decided to kill my connection or whatever happened there, that it's always hard on a Monday, but hard on a Monday after a holiday weekend, especially after we've been sitting around watching all that football, having some fun with family and friends, and now it's back to work. But here we are.
Here we are, Scott, and the game couldn't have started any worse for the Raiders, right? Derek Carr throws a pick right away. Seattle marches down the field. You give them excellent field position, to say the least, and they start the game up 7-0. I was really impressed with the Raiders able to respond, and we really haven't seen that from the Raiders in games past, where they make an atrocious mistake, and yet they're not able to respond to that and come back and score a touchdown, and yet Derek Carr was able to march down the field and do so.
Well, and that's what I've been pleading with Raider Nation and our listeners on Silver and Black today, that, hey, in a season that has been incredibly disappointing, and they had every right to be angry, the expectation was set that this team was going to compete, all that jazz. But in reality, you have to look at it and say, okay, what can I take away positive? You have to look for growth, right? A lot of these guys will be gone. A lot of them will stay next year as this team figures out what it needs to be as far as a roster goes. And so you see that. And now we've seen over the last 2 games, this Raiders team show resiliency that we hadn't seen so far this season. They're showing a comfort level. That offense has started to, I think, sink in. The quarterback, Derek Carr, for the first time last week in the win over Denver, I felt he looked comfortable behind that offensive line, fully comfortable, meaning he didn't have happy feet. He didn't look jittery at all. And we saw what happened. And the same thing happened with Seattle this week. After that rough start, he gets back in there, feels good. His offensive line provides better pass blocking than they had in a while. Of course, then you have Josh Jacobs go crazy. And so suddenly this team, as I said, it doesn't matter what you do in life. Sometimes you put in a lot of hard work. You don't always see the net result of that, right? So the Raiders were not. They're putting all that work in. You assume they're working hard. They put in the hard work and they lose constantly. They were having a terrible season, losing big leads. So now you see after 2 games, they finally get a good result. And that's huge for a team because you start to gain confidence.
No doubt. And I think you could see the confidence with Derek Carr as the game progressed, even though the game couldn't have started any worse for him. It was nice to see him completing passes, and Davante Adams was Davante Adams. He made that one catch he made with one hand, where, by the way, it should have been, I don't know how there wasn't a flag on that. That is Davante Adams, and that's why he is the best receiver in the NFL right now. Max Crosby had a nice game. He made some big plays yesterday. And while the defense was very disappointing at times, they came up with big plays and turnovers when they needed to. It was offensive madness out there, right? A lot of points were scored, but this was the type of Raider offense that we thought we would be seeing on a week-to-week basis from this Raiders team, right, Scott?
No question. And I think that you brought up a good point about the defense there. In our post-game show, we were talking about the defense and some of the big plays they made. And some of the fans out there were saying, well, they gave up 34 points. And I said, I understand that, but they also put you in a position to win the game. Right. They came up big in overtime. Max Crosby, again, as you mentioned, he's just been phenomenal and a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. To me, one of the top 2, along with Micah Parsons of the Cowboys. So you look at that situation, you say, hey, this defense is never going to be great or even really good or even good, I think, because you need bodies. You don't have the talent on that side of the ball, but you need them to come up big when they have opportunities, and they did. And then on the offense, you're absolutely right. Remember, still without Hunter Renfrow, still without Darren Waller, right, behind an offensive line that we all had questions about, but they are starting to gel. And I think that's the whole point of the offense finally sinking in, confidence building, and finally some kind of semblance of a rotation up front. So they've done really, really well. And obviously the results speak them for themselves when you got a guy running for over 200 yards.
And Gully, I rarely toot my own horn, but I'm going to toss it out there, my friend. I've been talking about this until the cows come home, that thinking that Josh Jacobs can be a big-time running back in the NFL. Your thoughts on what took place yesterday up there in Seattle and what he's been able to do, quite frankly, throughout most of this 2022 season?
Well, I'm right there with you. I think Josh Jacobs has always been a great running back. I mean, look what he's done in his time in the league. The problem is he's just not been able to stay on the field, right? This year so far, he has been able to do that. And again, it's a contract year. He was challenged. That shows the kind of character I think the kid has that say, okay, you're not going to exercise my 5th-year option, so I'm going to go out and I'm going to show you everything I got, because either you're going to pay me or somebody else will, which is totally fine. But yeah, I said it last night on the postgame show, Chris, that listen, without Josh Jacobs, this team might not have a win at all. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. Yep.
And not only that, but I have to give credit. I know everybody wants to fire Josh McDaniels, but I look at Josh McDaniels. He's made the adjustment somewhat out of necessity, lad, so I don't want to give him too much credit, but he's adjusted. He understands where his bread is buttered, and he's given it to number 28 because that's exactly how they've been able to win football games on offense, peppered in with the passing game, obviously.
Understood. I'm going to push back and maybe disagree a little bit with some of the play calling. For example.
Oh, I agree.
The Raiders, and we probably agree more than we disagree, but the Raiders have the football 4th and 2. You know the play I'm talking about.
Oh, absolutely.
9 out of 10 times, it will maybe be a quarterback sneak. It will maybe be, don't start a play 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage. They pitch the ball backwards to Josh Jacobs. And I understand Josh Jacobs is a stud. We all agree he had a phenomenal game. When it's 4th and 2 and it's a huge play in the football game, that was, in my opinion, an atrocious play call. I don't have a problem with going for it. I think you have to there.
Yeah.
But that play call was horrible. And those are the type of decisions that the coaching staff has made with the play calling that has hurt this team this year. And I understand they won a football game, and they won a tough football game against a pretty good Seattle team on the road. Let's give accolades and let's give credit to everybody. I don't have a problem with doing that. But I still don't like the play calling. That was a terrible play call.
Well, I agree with you 100%. And there was a couple other ones in short yardage situations that went the same way. And by the way, I think the Raiders, it surprised me. I think Peyton Manning had more quarterback sneaks than Derek Carr. It's not Derek Carr's fault. It's the offense not calling it. I don't know why you don't take it up the gut there, at least with the quarterback. Or to your point, you have Jakob Johnson back there, who's he was murdering people yesterday. It was ridiculous what he was doing in the blocking game. So, yeah, you had everything going for you there. I don't know why you don't do it either. It's the one part of Josh McDaniels' play calling that I'm still suspect of, because he's gotten so much better in other areas, including in the red zone. 3rd down overall, they were over 50%. This team is usually in the 20% range. So I see improvement there. But, yes, there's still some issue with, for some reason, trusting that offensive line and actually maybe over trusting them and pitching a ball when all you got to do is take it 14 inches up the gut and get a first down.
It brings me back to in circles. How can you explain, Scott, losing 24-0 to a team that is far not as good, and this team far superior, the Seattle Seahawks, to the Saints, losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars after having a 17-point lead, and then at home losing to a bad Colts team, and then you go on the road. I understand Denver's not a very good football team, but it's still not an easy place to play on the road against Denver with a pretty good defense. You're able to defeat that team and beat the Broncos, and then I didn't expect them to win yesterday. They beat a pretty good Seattle Seahawks team. They made that defense look really bad.
Yeah.
How do you explain it? How do they lose to these 3 teams and then you beat Denver and you beat a good Seattle team on the road? I don't understand.
I can't explain it. Maybe sometimes you got to hit rock bottom in order to go up. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. I think Derek Carr, with that emotional press conference, which he got a lot of heat over, and where he after 9 years, he broke down, and maybe that was a turning point for him. Maybe that was a turning point for the locker room. The guys saying, "Hey, you know what? We got to get this right." I don't know, but I do know that the team was, listen, I said this before on your show, guys, the team, it was overhyped. I thought the expectations for the team were a little out of whack. Yes, they were a playoff team last year, but they turned over the roster. They had 27 guys from last year's 52-man roster left over from that playoff team, a new coaching staff, a new scheme, new bodies all over the place. But should they have been as bad as they were? No. So I agree with you on that one. But for whatever reason, it's sinking in now. And maybe for some of those guys, it's like, hey, I better start playing. We got to pick up this game or I'm going to be somewhere else next year. And a lot of guys, who doesn't want to play in Vegas? I mean, if I'm a young guy making good money playing in the NFL where I got no state income tax, I want to go there. So maybe it's clicked for some of them. But I think it's a combination of players getting it, coaches getting it, and them improving together.
Yeah. And then speaking of emotion, Derek Carr dropping to his knees as the final seconds ticked off in emotion. If you remember, for a couple seconds, he drops to his knees and he kind of had that moment. It was only a moment, but maybe a few seconds to himself where he kind of puts his head down and it looked like another relief. Hey, we got another one. Thank God. We did it. That's the way I interpreted it. And now it's interesting because we have a very good football team coming to town this weekend, right? The Chargers. Chargers are a good football team. And that Seattle loss, that's a big loss for Seattle. Might have not have been a very important win as far as the Raiders go from the playoff picture. They're out of the playoffs. Right. But for Seattle, this was a very important game for them. They're not out of it now, but that was that could have ramifications at the end of the year. So that's a bad loss for Seattle. And then the Chargers are coming into town. They have, a lot of reason. And that was a big win they had yesterday with the 2-point conversion to win the game yesterday for them. They're coming in here, and this is a very important game for them. So maybe, and I say maybe, the Raiders have nothing to lose. They don't have that kind of pressure. And maybe that's going to help them down the stretch, win some football games. I don't know. What I do know is that they've won 2 games in a row on the road. They beat a pretty good Seattle team. And now arguably a better Chargers team, I think. And the Raiders back at home, Raiders are going to play with nothing to lose. And I'm not going to say this can't be a competitive football game. I think it can.
Yeah, and not only that, and I'll tell you why it will be in a minute, but I do think here, you look at a team, and this, again, what I was telling people about trying to remain positive. And I know when you're a fan of a team and they crap the bed, you're not happy. And so you're angry and everything they do, especially when it was as bad as it was, you're not feeling positive. But now the Raiders are in the position where they're starting to play better football. They could be a spoiler big time. And it starts Sunday against the Chargers. Remember, both of these teams are 2-2 in the division. So if the Raiders win, and again, I know they're not going to go to the playoffs, but if they can win, they can take sole possession of second place in the AFC West. Okay. And in a year when you're not going to make the playoffs, why not? And not only that, but you get to spoil it a little bit for your hated rival, the Chargers. So, and the Chargers, by the way, are terrible against the run. Okay. So what are the Raiders doing right now? The best. They're running the football. So to me, that benefits the Chargers. Now, the Raiders. The other thing is the Raiders defense can be bad. Justin Herbert can have the opportunity to carve them up. But if that offense can roll, I think it could be a more competitive game than it was the first time around because the Raiders are playing better, but still an uphill battle. But you like the fact that the Raiders are playing better football. They're executing more on the field. You can't make up for talent deficiencies right now, but what you can do is play better football.
Scott, UNLV was able to get the win and paint the cannon red this weekend over their rival, obviously, UNR. We'd be a derelict in our duty if we didn't get your take on the situation here with UNLV football. You being a local here for a long time, obviously, you have a connection with the UNLV football crowd. And your thoughts regarding Marcus Arroyo being let go as a head coach here with the Rebels?
Well, not surprising. I heard some sentiment today of people saying, oh, here we go again. Just like when Tony Sanchez won 5 games, they fired him. Now you have Arroyo wins 5 games. He's making progress and you fire him. But I don't know. I mean, listen, is that progress? Yes. Is it progress enough? I don't think so. I mean, I credit UNLV's president, who I don't know, have never been around, but for saying, hey, we expect more. He gave Arroyo credit for making sure kids graduated, made sure they were good people in the community. But everything I heard, and I don't know if you guys heard, I never had interaction since I don't cover UNLV football, but Marcus Arroyo had a reputation of not being exactly approachable, including with the media. There's stories around his radio show and how people would have to, gingerly walk around him, even though you were having issues there and you had to do a show every week. So I don't think he was well liked in the community as much as people, because he just didn't get involved, and maybe because he looked at it as a stepping stone coming from Oregon. I don't know the reasons, but UNLV football has just been a disaster for so long. And it's disappointing as someone who has the degree hanging on my wall that says the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. It's embarrassing that the football team never turns it around. But the problem is they never get the money they need to go get the coach they really should get. And I don't know what's going to happen this time. UNLV has no excuse from a facility standpoint. They have beautiful facilities on campus. They have the Allegiant Stadium. Yes, it's a pro stadium. It's not a college atmosphere, so to speak, but it's a lot better than a lot of schools have. Why they can't get kids to come there is beyond me. You need the right guy to go in, and they just haven't been able to do it. To me, it's leadership. It's been poor at the university level, not just athletics, but hopefully now they have leadership in place that they feel good about, and they can go out and get somebody who can actually come in. And you know what? If you have a coach for 3 years, but he's going to a bowl game with 2 out of those 3 years, I don't care where he goes after that. Or hell, I don't care where she goes. I don't care who it is. If they can come in and win 2 consecutive years, go to a bowl game, and then take their next step, that's fine. But get the program in the right frame of mind and the right place for the facilities and all that it has going for it so that it can win.
It's interesting, Scott. You don't even live here anymore, and you hit the nail right on the head. And there are so many members of the media will not state what you just stated, which I agree with wholeheartedly, 110%. You're absolutely right. He wasn't very well liked within the community. He wasn't well liked even among some at UNLV, players and administration staff and otherwise. Tony Sanchez was very liked within the community. He was a great guy, and that's why they gave him more time, and he helped with the facilities. Arroyo didn't do enough. He didn't do enough, and as much as he wasn't well liked, if he got to a bowl game this year, he'd be coming back next year. He didn't. An embarrassing loss on the road against Hawaii. And, yeah, I agree with everything you said, just not the right guy for this job. I'm sure he'll get a gig somewhere else, maybe not as a head coach, but as an offensive coordinator. Again, he conducted himself in this city like he had 8 rings in the NFL. He conducted himself. He really did. I mean, I've talked to former.
That's very Nick Saban-esque, right, Brian? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Guess what? Yes. You're not Nick Saban. The guy wins some football games. You're not Nick Saban. Just because you beat a horrendous UNR football team barely doesn't mean there's enough progress to win. So Scott, on a positive note, though, UNLV basketball had some nice wins over the weekend. They're undefeated. We know the women's program is very, very good. Coach LaRock has done a phenomenal job turning the women's program around. Both basketball programs are in okay shape. They're in good shape right now. It's the football program. So let me ask you this, Scott. What do you think would be a good candidate for the next UNLV football coach? Because me and Chris have talked about this, and Eric Harper, the AD, kind of alluded to this earlier today. And he said, listen, hiring someone with some head coaching experience would be good. And by that, I don't mean high school coaching experience. I'm talking about at the T1 level. And it's true.
Go get Jeff Saturday. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. I love Jeff Saturday. But I mean, what type of coach do you think they should hire?
It's a good question. They've gone every route you could possibly go at UNLV, from John Robinson, of course, to Bobby Hawk, getting a guy who's now doing great again up in Montana, right? And then, of course, you go with Marcus Arroyo coming out of a Pac-12 school. Oregon, this offensive juggernaut, gets to Vegas, can't get it done. So it's hard to say. I don't know. I mean, listen, I was a fan when they hired Arroyo and Jim Mora was out there. I was excited. I thought that he would have been a great choice then. Desiree at the time didn't agree with me because I guess he wasn't her ex-boyfriend like Arroyo was, but nonetheless, true story. But anyway, so that's what happened there. And so I don't know where to go. I need to think about who's out there, but you need somebody who's going to come in, who's got the energy. Listen, you guys have both been in Las Vegas enough to know that not only does Las Vegas love a winner, but if you're invested there and you care about people and you are everywhere and you show up in the community, they will support you. That includes financial. And so I think you need somebody who's going to come in and quote unquote work the room all the time. And yes, they got to go out and recruit kids. Don't get me wrong. You have to get talent to come to Las Vegas. But at the same time, you need somebody who can play the Vegas game, who can do it well, who's well-liked and gets around, shows up at everything. I don't care if it's a charity for wayward dogs, cats, whatever it is. They're going to be there and show that they care about Las Vegas, and then they will show up. I mean, you've seen what Kevin Kruger has done. He learns from his dad, of course, who was great at it as well, who was everywhere. So that's what they need. They need to look at the blueprint of what they've done with successful basketball hires to people getting involved in the community. Las Vegas has grown significantly. Clearly, there's a lot of new people there. So if you can get people engaged and have them see you out there, you care about the schools, you care about the charities, you care about what's happening in the community, then that's the start. And then you can actually maybe raise money and get more people interested in the program so that when kids come to games, they see an exciting atmosphere. So I don't have the answer for you right now. I got to look into it. But man, I with everything it's got going for it, if they make a bad hire this time, there's just no hope in my book.
Brian, Scott brought up John Robinson. John Robinson, 3 years short of 90. Don't know if they're gonna be bringing back old John to the mix here.
Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens here. But I have some faith in Eric Harper. And the reason why I do is because he made what was not an easy decision. Some people would characterize it as that. And there's a lot of people that disagree with this decision. I agree with it. Eric Harper made the right decision, and it wasn't the easy decision. I applaud him for making this decision, and that leads me to hope that he will make a good hire. We'll have to wait and see what happens. I support Eric Harper, and I think it's the right decision. I also always support my decision of having Scott Gulbranson Gully on the line with us. Scott, you do a great job with your Silver and Black podcast, my friend. I always appreciate it when you take the time to come on. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving, and hopefully look forward to talking to you next week after maybe a Raiders win at home against the Chargers. We'll see what happens, Scott. Thanks for joining us, my man.
Imagine that. 3 wins in a row. You got to break them up. I mean, that would be too much for Raider Nation to handle. But Chris, Brian, as always, a pleasure, you guys. Take care. Have a great week.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Appreciate that. Scott Gulbranson from Silver and Black Today podcast does a fantastic job. I'm embarrassed to say, because I'm all about me, I didn't even ask Chris Wynn how his Thanksgiving was. He just recently celebrated a birthday. He's now 68 years old. And is that right? Am I off a little bit?
You're kind of close. You're in the same neighborhood, I guess. But yes, I had an enjoyable Thanksgiving. Nothing crazy, just kind of lounged around. The family spread out all over the country, Brian. So
wait, I'm
shocked.
Get
a chance to hang around with family, but
you were lounging around. I was shocked.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's a textbook weekend.
I thought you were
myself.
I thought you were Alan Snell. You were cycling at Red Rock and you were doing push-ups all week. I'm shocked to hear you were lounging.
Get a chance to catch all the sporting action that took place this Thanksgiving weekend.
How was your betting weekend, by the way?
It was actually pretty solid, especially yesterday. Just knocking out winners all over the place. Get ready for my 1-900 number out there, Mr. Shapiro and Mr. Hayes, PTL listeners out there.
Is that a sex number?
1-900 wins betting is about to pop online, folks. You'll be able to piggyback my selections across the board.
I would happily pay you for those picks for the only reason I'd be betting the opposite. But anyway,
fade handicapper. That's the deal, right? That's trending on social media.
Well, I'm glad you had a good Thanksgiving. It is good to be back in Las Vegas. I know some people are very unhappy that I returned, but I'm here.
We're happy you're back safe and sound, my friend.
Yes,
of us were
I am.
Concerned.
I am. I'm back safe and sound, and it's good to be back. And I love doing this show. And I want to also thank Mark for doing a great job and helping me out today. Mark Hayes, the program director here. I appreciate him, and I appreciate everybody here at KSHP. And it's good to be back here. It's good to be back here doing radio. It's therapy for me. I enjoy it. It's my life. I love it. I enjoy it. And I appreciate you, Chris, being here as always as well. All right, folks, until then, I hope everybody has a great rest of your afternoon. We got some Monday night football to look forward to. Didn't even ask Chris where he's going to be watching the game tonight. He'll be lounging around somewhere. I don't know where, but we'll see you tomorrow.
I'll be at a local watering hole somewhere, belly up to the bar.
That's right.
To the bar side.
All right, folks. It's been a great day. Great to be back. We'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place. Have a great day, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place?